the fear that I have is like it's gotten so big that like how do you stop it? Like how do you stop the machine? I mean, how do you overhauling healthcare like in its current state? Like it's just like is it even possible at this point? And like, to me that's just like the disheartening conversation, right? And it's like, you really think about it and you look at it how, even, on the physician side, to your point, it's like we're tying, the volume to the revenue to, it's just like, okay, well, what about the person that needs my help, right? And it might take a little bit longer, but it's like, but in order for me to get to this benchmark, I got to see 60 people today.
Yeah.
Eh, I don't know. I just, and insurance companies are driving these health systems and vice versa. And it's like, I just don't understand how that became a thing, why anyone thought that that was a good idea, who wasn't sitting in the C-suite, who was benefiting from it. Just, it makes absolutely no sense to me.
We'll need a lot of numbers and power and voices pushing for legislative changes in the correct direction, not capitulating to lobbyists and keeping things as they are. So I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's great soapbox though. And I hope it doesn't implode. I have a fear it may, myself personally. My problem with kind of the legislative piece is, like Travis said, I almost feel like it's gotten so far out of control, and with the lack of certain positions having term limits and things like that, like I feel like there's too many politicians in the pockets of big healthcare organizations and insurance companies and things like that, that there's this connection with, massive profits that are being raked in year after year by these massive insurance companies that I feel like the politics may just not allow it, right? Like we can do our best to go speak to our local legislators, but I hate to say I'm a pessimist, but I don't know how it's going to work. Where did the book idea come from? Who'd you write it with?
Sure.
What was the inspiration? And for is it mainly written for patients or physicians or both?
The answer to that, Ryan, is yes and. I'm a big fan of yes and. So initially, the book process started. I wrote a poem called "Medicine is a World of Gray," and it was kind of a dark look at primary care and all of the struggles and frustrations that exist as you're trying to see patients in this fee-for-service hamster wheel, if you will. And then I wrote a chapter called "Anatomy of Burnout," which I talked about, which was my journey. And initially, the book was intended to try and bridge the gap between physicians and administrators, right? Because oftentimes there's not just a gap, but often a chasm in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. And I understand both sides, but I've also been in situations where those two entities are on the same page and it's magic. And the amazing part of that is you're never at want for patients because the culture's good and patients get good care and you're busting at the seams. And oh, by the way, when we were doing that, we were in the black as a little hospital every year.
When you're creating a documentary, though, like, are you the director? You're probably not the director. Are you the producer? Are you the idea guy? Like, how are you finding people to get this all set up?
A wonderful, wonderful thought process there, Ryan. So my title is executive producer. And some of my key roles for this, it's multifaceted for me. Um, the way that we are generating capital for this is actually in a grassroots fashion. And I'll put a plug in if any of our colleagues are interested in participating until we fill out the budget, find me on LinkedIn and we'll talk about it. But there's some power in that, right? We've got currently about 60, 65 individuals and or organizations who have contributed in some fashion for this. And so that's been a big part of my role to this point, or one of my big parts. The other part for me
Like
is
fundraising?
Yeah, so fundraising has been a big part. But the other part is the story arc and helping the director John and Scott and Amy understand better all these issues that are going on. Perhaps one of the biggest roles for me is getting the right voice to fill a void in the story. And that's where it's almost been like doors are just opening up at this point, because I think everybody realizes like this project is bigger than any one person that's involved. This project is for all of us.